My name is David Hopkins, and I am the beekeeper of Sky Barn Apiaries, where my wife and I live, and we work in the realm of producing honey more than anything else.
My name is Tim Stoughton, Stoughton Farm in Newark Valley on Route 38. We have a roadside farm market. We are open seasonally from basically May to the end of October. We grow bedding plants in the greenhouses, so hanging baskets, pots, packs of flowering annuals and vegetables. We have 10 greenhouses. People can come in the spring and buy plants right out of where they were grown, because we grow all our own. In the summertime, we transition into produce: corn, potatoes, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, that kind of thing. Pumpkins for the fall. And then in the fall, we have a corn maze and we serve food. We have activities for people to do, not just the corn maze. There's other activities. So that wraps up our season.
It's the spirit of my ancestors that drive me, ultimately. And very directly, I think it's my one grandfather who really inspired me to beekeeping. The other was also a farmer and also inspired me because I admired these people. It's natural for a little child to admire their grandparents, I think. So here's my grandfather is an extension agent in Iowa, working for the legislature back in the early part of the 1900s. He was tending bees with horse and wagon. And by the time I was born, there were motors and vehicles on the farm as well, but he was getting to be a really old man then. He had apples, and he milked cows, and he raised chickens and eggs and all sorts of fruit and vegetables, and he had a honey stand with all of that produce available in the driveway. And I just admired that and admired the bees, and it stuck in my memory. In my early 20s, I bought some bees. And for most of the years since then, I've had some bees.
So my name is Michael Gloss, and our farm is Kingbird Farm.
Karma Gloss, Kingbird Farm.
So currently the farm is split kind of in half between livestock production and plant and crops. And so on the livestock side, we have usually about 200 laying hens for eggs, including a flock in there for our breeding hens. We also do about 300 broilers for meat, and we have a flock of birds for reproduction, for breeding of broiler birds. We also do about 150 to 200 meat ducks a year, and again have a flock of probably about 30 laying ducks, both for eggs and for breeding. For pigs, we usually keep anywhere from 3 to 7 sows on the farm and a boar, depending on the time of year, and have litters twice a year, more in the spring than in the fall. Depending on how many our numbers, we usually range from producing 50 to 100 piglets. Usually raise anywhere from 20 to 40, and we sell the rest as feeder pigs or breeding stock. Those are the breed of that, they're Tamworth swine. On cows, we have mostly Highland mothers that we cross to Red Angus, and then we also have a dairy cow. And so we raise calves for meat. Sometimes we're reproducing our own heifers. And as I said, we keep one dairy cow.
I'm Kate Whittemore, and with my husband Ben, we own and operate Dead End Farm.
Organic dairy farm.
We milk 110 cows 2 times a day. We have about 220 tillable acres on this home farm.
Start milking, or go get the cows at 5:30. By 8 o'clock or so, we're done milking. And we feed the cows and feed the calves and clean up. By 9:30, 10 o'clock, we're done with that. Usually by 11 or so, we're off to the project of the day.
There were two women who lived here who started to occupy this barn, which was once really ramshackle. And so they built this living quarters, put in the well, brought in the infrastructure, and then called it quits and put it on the market. And so we took over from there.
We moved here and purchased the farm in 1996. It had been a farm many, many years ago, but none of that infrastructure existed anymore. So it was up to us to figure out what infrastructure we needed and to start putting that in, which meant clearing pastures, putting a main barn in, and then over time putting a pond in, greenhouses, dedicated buildings for certain types of livestock, sheds, fencing, slight improvement of the well, all that type of thing. And we've done that over the years as we've decided what enterprises fit best here and what we needed for the farm.
We started with this one heifer, and everybody got so attached. And I always knew that Ben had this desire to be a farmer that he was burying a little bit, working as a mechanic. My parents live just up the road, and we all got invested in raising this heifer named Charlotte, and didn't want to see her leave the farm, and that's what started us into milking cows. She's still here, and she's still a pet. We fondly watch her offspring, I think more so than any of our other cows. They're our pets. So there's a love of animals that kind of drives, I think, why we farm. What do you say?
Probably.
I mean, you enjoy the crops and the tractor stuff and whatever, but I think at heart it's the animals that are why we do what we do. And
Yeah.
you do what you do.
Yeah.
I'm Tim Lawton and operate Lawton's Jersey Farm along with my girlfriend and family, my parents, my sons, her daughter. Oh, yeah. We're a registered Jersey dairy, marketing milk as our main income with additional income from genetics and breeding stock. The farm has been in the family for about 80 years. We about 90 cows and about the same number of young stock. And work about 250 acres. We do all of our own crops and feed. The only feed that we purchase is our protein concentrate for the milking cows, and grow pretty much everything else. Well, the cows are in tie stalls with mattresses. They're heavy canvas over like a ground rubber matting base there, and all for comfort, preventing banged up hocks, and gives them a better footing when they go to get up. And the center alley has rubber matting on it as well. Helps them keep them from slipping on the concrete as they go in and out of the barn, and Better footing. They don't do the big jump over the gutter. That's always been a thing. A lot of times they think those gutters are the Grand Canyon and they try to do a big jump over them, but if they've got good footing, they'll just walk in. They do pretty well. So,
because we're a very diverse farm, there's really no average day of what we do. Some things that remain pretty constant even throughout the year are we do chores in the morning, we do chores in the evening, and that's mostly animal related things. I mean, food, water, and shelter. Making sure they have food, making sure the waters are working or adding water if it's not an automated system, checking for bedding, adding bedding as needed, moving shelters, and sometimes moving fences, depending on the time of year and what the animals are. Throughout the rest of the day, it really depends on the time of year and just the day of the week and what's going on. On Fridays, we're harvesting for market because we do all our fresh marketing on Saturdays at the farmers market. During the week, it will really vary. We're doing weeding, we're doing moving fences, we're loading feed, we're loading hay, fixing things. It's incredibly variable, and that's one good part about having a diverse farm is the work is also incredibly diverse.
My name is Natalia. I'm an intern at Kingbird Farm. What we do changes daily, but sometimes I work in the greenhouses or help move animals and set up fences or feed hay, and I'm responsible for doing chores every morning, which is just bringing food and water to everybody on the farm.
I don't think there is average. I mean, it depends on the time of the year. Yeah, in the spring, it's about the same every day right now. In the summer, it's pretty much the same. But it's the same for a short period of time, then it changes. And it's like in the spring before we open. We come in, we're planting, we're watering, taking care of the bedding plants, and then when you open, it all changes. Now you got people here, you wait on people, plus you're still caring for the bedding plants, watering them, and still planting some. And so there really is no average day, I don't think. It's the same for a month, and then it changes.
So these are our broiler birds. Most of the birds that we have left right now we're raising to be our replacement breeding stock, because we do one unique thing we do on the farm is we raise our own broilers and breed them on farm rather than buying from a hatchery. And so these are just 2 small batches. These are some younger ones that will be kept in the structure until they learn the area. Then they can open up and day range, and we'll keep moving it and giving them new grass paddocks. And we also have on the other side of this paddock is some older birds, which we'll be selecting breeding stock out of those also. And so we'll have 2 flocks in here of different ages, and we'll still take some of them out for meat birds for this year, and then keep about 40-45 hens and 5 roosters for our breeding stock for next year.
This is called an 8-frame box, and I use the standard 10-frame boxes, which are 2 or 3 inches wide and have 10 combs in each instead of 8. It's about 25,000 in each deep box. So I would imagine this colony here has got about 50,000, maybe with a few more up in here. Each of these boxes will probably weigh 25 or 30 pounds when the honey is taken out. So lighting a smoker is an important thing. It's the first tool that we have to control the bees. It's like building a miniature campfire. Try to make a nice little hot spot down in it, and then fill it up with plenty of fuel so it'll just continue burning along. It's really quite amazing how you can just put a whiff across the doorway, and in a matter of seconds the bees up at the top will know there's a beekeeper coming in. So primarily what I want to do is check to see if they need any supers. These are the boxes of combs that the bees will keep their winter stores in. The bees are up in the super, but even if I just look down through that hole, I can see there's nothing going on for honey to speak of. There's no big call for another super. They got a lot of room to work with. Well, the honeybees dehydrate the nectar by setting up wind currents, air currents through their hive and going through the heat of the hive. It's probably about 100 degrees in there, and they maintain that temperature. And then they spread the nectar around, they spread it around so that it's exposed to air, and they manipulate it. Through their manipulation and also in carrying it in their honey stomach, it becomes inoculated with enzymes that contribute to the quality of the honey too.
We start our baby calves in hutches, individual hutches. Right after birth, they get a fresh, clean hutch that's been power washed and fresh bedding. They get fed 3 times a day while they're in hutches. About 2.5 months, we begin taking them off milk, and they start getting more solid feed, more calf starter and stuff. Then by about 3 months, they leave hutches and go to small group pens, and the hutch is power washed out and fresh new bedding set on a new clean spot and ready for the next calf. The reason that we like hutches is lots of fresh air, of course, good ventilation. By picking up the hutch and washing it and moving to fresh ground, that kind of gives us the best shot of breaking any disease that might be starting to build up or anything, bugs, bacteria.
From the beginning, we've done all our field work with horses. Currently, our draft work is done with 2 Halflingers and a Fjord. Both those are smaller draft breeds, but using 2 or 3 at a time, and sometimes a single, fit really well on our farm. And for field work, or work we're doing with the horses, it's plowing the fields, disking, harrowing, spreading manure, cultivating. We're moving stuff around, some with them, doing logging, and they do basically general work on the farm.
My fondest memory might be when Carla, my wife, began keeping bees herself. She has the idea that she can work with her bees in an interspecies collaboration, making sculpture. And so as she learns more and more about bees, she's learning how she can direct their wax building so that they can accommodate her sculptural designs. How's that for cool?
Try to get the very best production that we can out of our cows and do the best that we can with them. That's kind of always been our thing, I guess, is, always trying to do a little bit better, to challenge ourselves that way, to get more out of the cows that we have rather than just keep adding on a lot more cows,
Yeah, the bees are the bees are amazing. I can't say that enough.
The important thing to us is that we get to do it. That we work a lot of hours, we work long days, but we get to do it with our families, and our kids. They didn't go to daycare and stuff, they did the stuff with us,
But yeah, I enjoy growing things. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's what I like to do, is do the best job I can, growing good quality products.
One thing about being a farmer is you're you say you're your own boss, but since I work with my wife, we're both our own bosses or bosses of each other. But we do like the ability to be able to design what we do and execute it on our own, both as a team and sometimes independently, and which is sometimes something very hard to do in a job when you're working for an outside entity or really working for someone else. So we like that independence.
I like it here. I like living here. I like the area. The weather's good. The hills and the valleys are pretty. It's a good place to live, raise your family. Yep.